All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into Pakistani pop culture.
Oh, wow, fun.
It is fun and fascinating. We have some excerpts from a proposed YouTube podcast script, and basically, it looks like Pakistani pop culture is blending with all the global trends to create something totally new and unique.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Pakistani TikTok stars, TV dramas, the music scene, which is electric.
I've heard about this. Yeah.
It's a really cool blend of traditional sounds with modern beats.
Nice.
Yeah, and even a hypothetical interview with a pop culture icon, which I think is going to be super insightful.
Yeah,
So are you ready to uncover why Pakistani pop culture is captivating the world right now?
I am. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what's really interesting here is how Pakistan is really leveraging platforms like TikTok and not just jumping on trends, but adding that unique Pakistani flair.
Yeah, they're really good at that.
They are.
Like the script actually calls it extra masala, like they're amplifying the drama and the humor.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Like they're not just replicating, they're adding these like signature dramatic transitions and suspenseful looks and that playful roasting of anti-culture.
Yes, exact.
So good.
Mm.
So what do you think is driving this viral success?
You know, one thing the source material points out is that a lot of these creators don't have high-end equipment or big budgets.
Right.
Their success really comes from the talent and creativity that's booming in Pakistan and that accessibility. TikTok has a low barrier to entry. It allows a wider range of voices to be seen and heard. And, it's resonating on a global scale.
Totally. It's almost like they've democratized creativity. Like
Yeah.
anyone with a smartphone and internet can become like a global sensation.
Yeah, yeah.
And the specifically mentions the Thumka Dance Challenge.
Yes.
For those who might not know, can you explain what that is?
So the thumka is a traditional South Asian dance move. And the challenge on TikTok involves incorporating this traditional move into modern dance routines. It was fascinating to see how this traditional element was reinterpreted and shared across cultures.
Yeah, sounds really cool. I'm definitely adding that to my watch list. But moving on from the digital world, let's talk about how this cultural fusion is playing out on the small screen, like Pakistani dramas. I was surprised to learn that they're gaining a global audience.
Yeah, it is quite remarkable. While many of us are captivated by shows like Stranger Things, Pakistani dramas with their family conflicts, dramatic plot twists, evil twins even, are drawing viewers worldwide.
Wild.
Yeah. Our source material highlights shows like Zindagi Gulzar Hai and Eddie Wafa as examples that have found international viewership on platforms like Netflix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, why do you think these shows, which are so culturally specific, are resonating with a global audience?
Well, the script suggests it's the potent combination of emotional music, those slow motion stares.
Love a slow-mo stare.
Oh, they're good. Relatable family dynamics and even the presence of rishta aunties, those matchmaking aunties.
Right, the Rushta aunties.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I don't know much about Pakistani dramas, but those elements sound really intriguing.
They're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Do you think it's the heightened emotions and cultural nuances that are drawing people in, or is it something more universal?
I think it's a bit of both. On one hand, these dramas offer a window into a different culture, which can be captivating, right?
Yeah.
But they also tap into those universal themes of love, family, societal expectations, which resonate with audiences regardless of their background. And perhaps there's also a desire for storytelling that, deviates from the typical Western narratives.
Right, like they're offering something fresh and different, but still hitting those emotional chords that we can all relate to.
Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of captivating, the Pakistani music scene seems to be just as dynamic. The source material mentions everything from Coke Studio.
Oh, I love Coke Studio.
Yeah, which beautifully blends like traditional and modern music to young artists who are fusing Urdu lyrics with like trap beats.
It's an incredibly vibrant scene, and it's making its mark globally. The source specifically mentions the song Pasuri by Ali Sethi and Shay Gill,
Oh, yeah.
which went viral and was played everywhere from Indian weddings to nightclubs in New York.
Amazing.
It speaks to the power of music to bridge cultures and connect people on a global level.
That's so cool. I'm definitely going to check out Basuri. But it raises an interesting question that the script also asks. Is Pakistan the new K-pop? What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, that's a good one. It's an interesting parallel, especially given the global rise of both Pakistani and Korean music.
Right.
But while the comparison is flattering, I think it's crucial to acknowledge the unique elements of Pakistani music.
Okay.
For example, the fusion of Sufi poetry, which often explores themes of spirituality and love, with modern beats, creates a sound that's both ancient and contemporary.
That's a really good point. And on top of that, the source material mentions the rise of indie artists in Pakistan who are challenging the dominance of Bollywood music.
Oh,
They
interesting.
even highlight one artist in particular.
Yes, they specifically name an artist as one of these rising stars.
Okay.
They are known for their experimental sound that blends traditional instruments with electronic music, creating a truly unique soundscape.
Wow. Name an artist. Definitely adding them to my playlist.
You should.
It seems like Pakistani pop culture thrives on this unique blend of local and global influences, doesn't it?
It does.
The script dives into this Desi versus global debate, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think Pakistani pop culture is carving out its own unique space, or is it simply adding a Desi twist to global trends?
That's a complex question.
Yeah.
And I think the answer lies somewhere in between.
Okay. You're right, it's not an either situation.
Exactly. We can see how Pakistani creators are drawing inspiration from global trends,
Hmm.
but they're also reinterpreting them in a way that reflects their own cultural values and aesthetics.
Right.
The source material provides some fun examples to illustrate this point.
Oh, I'm intrigued. What examples do they give?
Well, they talk about Billy Barbie, for instance.
Hmm.
Imagine the iconic Barbie doll,
Yeah,
but instead of her usual attire, she's wearing a lehenga,
love it.
a traditional South Asian outfit.
So good. What a good visual.
It's a playful fusion of Western iconography and Pakistani aesthetics.
I love that. It's a great example of how they're taking something familiar and making it their own. Did they mention any other examples?
Yes. They also talk about how Pakistanis are putting their own spin on global TikTok dance trends.
Okay.
Think of those viral dances that everyone's doing, but now imagine them with Bhangra steps and chai breaks woven in.
That's hilarious. It's like they're saying, we see your trend and we're going to add our own spice to it.
Precisely. And the script uses a really clever analogy to explain this phenomenon.
Ooh, okay.
They compare it to a chicken tikka pizza.
Okay.
You take something familiar pizza and you infuse it with that distinctly Pakistani flavor, chicken tikka, to create something new and exciting.
That's a fantastic analogy. It perfectly captures how Pakistanis are blending global influences with their own unique cultural elements.
I know, right?
So what does this all mean for the future of Pakistani pop culture? Is it just a fleeting trend, or are we witnessing the emergence of a new global cultural force?
I think it's much more than just a trend. Pakistani pop culture is tapping into something much deeper. It resonates with a global audience that's seeking out new perspectives and diverse voices.
Absolutely. It's like they're forging their own path on the world stage, blending tradition and modernity in a way that's both captivating and refreshing.
And I think we're only just beginning to see the impact of this cultural movement.
I completely agree. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, exploring everything from TikTok trends to TV dramas and that vibrant music scene.
It's so vibrant.
But we've only just scratched the surface. Coming up next, we'll delve into the source material's hypothetical interview with a Pakistani pop culture icon.
I can't wait.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating to hear their perspective on the challenges and opportunities facing Pakistani artists.
Me too.
Should be good.
Looking forward to it. Let's take a break. So this hypothetical interview,
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to unpacking this.
Me too.
I think it's going to offer some valuable insights.
Yeah. It's one thing to discuss trends and data, but hearing directly from someone who's living and breathing this pop culture explosion,
Yeah,
that's where the real magic happens.
absolutely. And this hypothetical interview tackles some really interesting questions.
Okay.
Like, how do Pakistani artists navigate the balance between staying true to their cultural values while also appealing to a global audience?
Right.
That's a tightrope walk for any artist.
It's such a relevant question, especially in a culture as rich and diverse as Pakistan's.
Yeah.
I'm also curious to hear how they address the criticism about Pakistani TikTok sometimes being seen as a copy-paste of global trends.
Yeah.
Like, how do you stay authentic while also participating in these global conversations?
It's a valid critique.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to a larger conversation about cultural exchange and appropriation. Is it inspiration? Is it imitation? The script brings up this tension, which I think is important.
It is important.
Yeah.
How does the source material approach this?
Well, it acknowledges that cultural exchange is a two-way street.
Right.
Inspiration can come from anywhere, and it's how you adapt and reinterpret those influences that ultimately defines your work.
Yeah.
Going back to that chicken tikka pizza analogy,
I love that analogy.
it's not just about slapping some tikka on a pizza and calling it a day.
Right.
It's about understanding the flavors, the
Yes.
techniques, and creating something new and delicious from that fusion.
That creative alchemy.
Yes,
But I imagine it must be tricky to navigate, especially for young artists who are just starting out and trying to find their voice.
for sure.
Does the script address that?
It does. The script poses this great question. What advice would you give to young creatives trying to make it in Pakistan's pop culture industry?
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I love that it focuses on empowering the next generation of Pakistani artists. It encourages them to embrace their unique perspectives and not be afraid to experiment.
That's so important, especially in a country where traditional art forms are so deeply respected.
Right.
It's about finding that space for new forms of expression to flourish.
Exactly. It's about fostering a sense of creative freedom
Yeah.
and supporting young artists as they navigate the complexities of a globalized world. It's not just about replicating what's already popular, it's about pushing boundaries and forging new paths.
Yeah, I'm so curious to hear what this hypothetical icon has to say on this topic.
You too.
Their perspective, coming from someone who's achieved success and navigated these challenges, could be really valuable for aspiring artists.
Definitely. And beyond the advice, I think it'll be fascinating to hear how they perceive the overall energy of Pakistan's youth culture.
Yeah.
The script itself seems so vibrant and optimistic. Do you think that's reflective of the reality on the ground?
It's hard to say for sure without being immersed in that world, but from what we've seen in the source material, there's definitely a palpable sense of excitement and possibility.
Yeah,
Like they're witnessing the birth of something truly special.
I think you're right, and that energy is contagious.
Uh-huh.
It makes you want to be a part of this cultural movement to see where it goes and how it evolves.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we've talked about TikTok, dramas, music, even a hypothetical interview with a pop culture icon. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still one big question I keep circling back to, this Desi versus global debate.
Right.
Is Pakistani pop culture truly forging its own unique identity? Or is it simply adding a Desi twist to existing global trends? Where do you stand on that?
I think it's more nuanced than a simple versus. Pakistani pop culture isn't operating in a vacuum.
Right.
Cultures are fluid and are interconnected.
Yeah.
There's a constant exchange of ideas and influences happening globally. And Pakistan is a prime example of how those influences can be absorbed, reinterpreted, and ultimately transformed into something new and exciting.
Right. It's not an either situation.
Exactly. The script does a great job of highlighting this through examples, like those Billy Barbies we discussed earlier.
Yes.
A Western icon reimagined through a Pakistani lens.
Right.
It's not about rejecting global influence. It's about engaging with it in a creative and meaningful way.
And who doesn't love a good Barbie makeover?
Right.
Especially one that reflects a different culture.
Exactly.
What other examples come to mind?
Well, those TikTok dance trends with Bhangra steps and chai breaks are a great example.
Yes.
It's about taking something familiar and injecting it with that Pakistani flavor, that masala.
Yeah.
It's playful, it's innovative, and it speaks to the way Pakistani creators are adapting to the global landscape while staying true to their roots.
And that's where that chicken tikka pizza analogy becomes so powerful, right?
Yes.
It's not just about imitation.
It's about culinary innovation.
Yes.
It's about understanding the essence of both the global and the local and blending them in a way that creates something entirely new and delicious.
Exactly.
And that's what makes Pakistani pop culture so compelling. It's a fusion of flavors, a blend of tradition and modernity, and ultimately a reflection of the dynamism and creativity of Pakistani society.
So what does this all mean for the future of Pakistani pop culture? Do you think this momentum is sustainable? Are we seeing the rise of a new global cultural force?
I think it's far more than a fleeting trend. Pakistani pop culture is tapping into a global desire for diverse voices and fresh perspectives.
Yeah.
It's offering something unique, something that's both familiar and surprising.
Yeah.
And as long as Pakistani creators continue to push boundaries, experiment, and stay true to their vision, I think this cultural wave will continue to grow and evolve.
I love that perspective.
Yeah,
It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
it is.
Well, we've covered so much ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have.
But there's still one more piece of this source material to explore.
Okay.
It touches on how Pakistani pop culture is impacting the global landscape.
Yeah,
And I think that's a perfect segue into our final thoughts on this topic.
sounds good.
So it's pretty amazing to think about Pakistani pop culture not just reflecting global trends,
Yeah.
but actually like shaping them.
Yeah. They're introducing new flavors, new sounds, new stories to the world stage.
Right.
And people are taking notice.
Yeah. I mean, who would have predicted that Pakistani dramas would find such a devoted audience on platforms like Netflix? It really challenges those traditional powerhouses of global pop culture.
Absolutely. It points to a growing demand for diverse storytelling.
Wow.
Audiences are craving something different, something authentic.
Right.
And Pakistani pop culture offers just that.
Yeah. And it's not just about the content itself.
Yeah.
It's about the creators behind it.
Yeah.
These young Pakistani artists, musicians, content creators.
Yeah. They're fearless, innovative, and willing to experiment.
Yeah. They're not bound by the same old formulas.
Nope.
And that's what makes them so captivating.
Yeah.
They're redefining what it means to be a global pop culture icon.
I love that.
I think the source material we've been discussing embodies that spirit perfectly. It's playful, it's irreverent, and it's infused with that signature Pakistani masala.
It's a true celebration of Pakistani identity and creativity.
Yeah.
And it extends an open invitation for the world to join the party.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Pakistani pop culture, I want to leave you with a question from the source material.
Okay.
One that I think is really worth pondering. If you were tasked with pitching a Pakistani TV drama or song to a global audience, what elements would you highlight to grab their attention? What makes Pakistani pop culture so unique and appealing?
Well, I think the answer lies in everything we've explored today.
Yeah.
That vibrant blend of tradition and modernity, the rich colors and flavors, the raw talent and creativity,
Yeah.
and that unapologetically Pakistani perspective that's captivating audiences worldwide.
Beautifully said.
Mhm.
So there you have it. Pakistani pop culture, a force to be reckoned with, a fusion of flavors.
And a testament to the power of creative expression.
This is just the beginning, and I can't wait to see what they do next.
Yeah.